Hello guys, this is your friend Naruto Audio Fanfics and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto became the Shinigami's chosen successor? Spirit Master Naruto, Secrets of Death Unleashed in Naruto times Anko times Hinata times Ino times Sakura times Tamari times Tenten times Kurenai times Tsunade times Shizune times Yugao times Mei times Konan times Karen times Yugito times Samui times Mabui times Fu times Ayame times OC Ultimate Spirit Harem, Part 2. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. The Sandaime was once again filing paperwork, albeit this time with the aid of shadow clones. A small idea he got from Naruto using shadow clones to perform those D ranks. If the boy could abuse the jutsu for manual labor and whatnot, why couldn't Hiruzen himself abuse it on paperwork? The process was a rousing success. The Sandaime made a memo to thank the blonde later for indirectly giving him this ingenious idea. The window to his office opened, revealing the form of Jiraiya, the Toad Sannin and Hiruzen's student. "Yo, sensei." The Sannin greeted in a casual manner. "Jiraiya-kun, you're back early," the Hokage commented as he lit his pipe. "Yeah, I had to come back when I heard what was happening in Konoha. Weird happenings in the Hyuga compound, a cult popping up doing some nasty voodoo, and Kazashi Haruno being murdered. What the hell happened to Konoha? When did all this shit start cropping up?" the Sannin asked as he scratched his head. The aged Hokage took a drag from his pipe and answered, "Not sure. Maybe it was all buried beneath the surface, but we never noticed it. Or maybe it was right in front of our eyes but we deemed it unimportant. That is, till things came to a head. Fortunately an expert is handling at least two of those strange events you mentioned." The Sannin raised an eyebrow and asked, "An expert? Who? Is it a cute babe?" Hiruzen groaned inwardly at that last question, but chose to ignore it for now. "Naruto Uzumaki. He has a particular talent for handling things of an unusual nature," he answered while taking a long drag from his pipe, then exhaled the smoke to continue speaking. "About 2 years ago, I received a strongly worded letter from an unknown sender who identified themselves as the number 4. Inside were details of Naruto attempting to commit suicide. 4 talked the boy out of it and offered him some kind of deal. Since then, the boy has become much more confident and skilled. He always has this little girl with red eyes with him who never speaks. And in recent weeks he has displayed a very crass attitude that irritates people, though he claims this is a tactic to unbalance people. Quite incredible really. Naruto, the Jinchuriki brat, he's supposed to be an expert on cults?" the Sannin asked, not bothering to hide his skepticism. "I didn't say he was an expert on cults, I said he has a particular talent, handling things of an unusual nature. And he isn't just a Jinchuriki. He's way more than that now." The Sandaime spoke with a bit of pride. "Oi, don't tell me you're going soft, old man." The plan was to keep him in the dark and prevent him from growing too powerful too quickly. The Sannin spoke with disapproval of his old sensei's approach. The plan wasn't to hinder him. The real plan was to leave him to his own devices and see how he handles his own responsibilities. "You however have put too much stock in a prophecy. And frankly, I find Naruto to be more than adequate as of now. I want no part in whatever plan you have." The Sandaime spoke while narrowing his eyes. "You can't just back out. Think of Konoha's future." Jiraiya yelled out in outrage at his sensei losing perspective. "HMPH. I just did. Naruto-kun deserves a chance to live his own life. Not one we have fabricated. If it is Konoha's fate to be destroyed because we didn't manipulate a prophecy to our advantage then, so much the better. It is not in our hands to tempt fate." Hiruzen spoke while taking another drag from his pipe. Having enough of this, the Sannin left so that he might confront the Jinchuriki for himself and set things straight. At Naruto's apartment. Since yesterday's event, Naruto had patiently attempted to coax the mysterious Raven into speaking with him. For the most part she had quietly meditated while chanting a phrase, Azarath Metrian Zinthos over and over again. From what Naruto could tell, she was an empath. A powerful one at that, as he constantly felt her sensing his current emotional state. She could sense many things: anger, frustration, and intense hatred, but there was a certain purity about him. The negative emotions weren't directed at her, but something else entirely. My apologies for not speaking to you sooner. I required meditation to collect my thoughts and emotions. She spoke in a monotone voice, but despite this, it carried a hint of gratitude for his patience. Not a problem. You're an empath, right? Can sense the emotions of others? He asked with a raised eyebrow while serving some tea. Sense, absorb, even manipulate, she replied, confirming his suspicions. I see. Handy tool. If applied appropriately, you could sense if someone is lying. But enough about that. I want to learn more about you, Raven. He spoke while pushing a cup of tea towards her. She accepted it and drank a bit. She gave him a thankful nod for the drink and spoke, "Ask me anything you wish." He thought for a few moments, then asked his questions. Who are you really? Why were you summoned by those cultists? Why did you make that covenant with me? The purple-haired woman took another sip of tea and began to speak. My name is Rachel Roth. Though I prefer going by the name Raven. Some years ago, my mother was raped by a demon called Trigon. My father is a demon lord who seeks not but total destruction. He is pure evil incarnate, and he constantly seeks to manipulate me to use as a gateway into your world. If I don't repress and control my emotions, he could attempt to take me over. We are fortunate that he didn't take notice of yesterday's events. I can only guess those cultists summoned me is because of my father's blood flowing through my veins. My summoning was unintentional. And I made a covenant with you, because you are a contradiction. You bear the aura of death, but you stay amongst the living. You possess the power of an ancient beast, but your heart is pure. Flawed, but pure. I believe you may destroy Trigon and free me of his influence. In exchange, I have given you my loyalty. Anything within my power to give is yours. At the end of her explanation, he nodded and smiled. Thanks for telling me. I've never killed a demon lord. Should be fun. It'll be nice to have you around. She raised an eyebrow at what he said. He thought that killing a demon lord would be fun. And it's nice having her. He was an odd one. But she could sense that deep inside of him was the strength to rock entire nations. Hey there, spoke the jovial voice of the Shinigami, her silvery hair shining with flecks of gold in the light. Oh, hey boss. What's up? The blonde asked, since it was rare for his boss to show up in person like this, less it was important. I came to alert you that there's been another incident at the Hyuga compound. Kessa-chan is out finding that Rin girl's remains out in Kiri. And well, since you seem to be getting fresh new talent, I thought it appropriate I get you a more suitable place of residence too. The Shinigami explained while drinking a glass of wine. While holding up her old Hanya mask from the Uzumaki shrine. Raven, go with the boss. Get to know her a bit and see this new place she has in mind. I'll take care of things at the Hyuga compound. The blonde spoke in a professional manner. The half-demon nodded in agreement and followed outside. Naruto grabbed his equipment and his trusty scythe in the event he needed it and made his way towards the Hyuga compound. When he arrived, it seemed the place was in chaos as side branch members went in and out at a frantic pace, many of them bearing grim expressions. Not bothering to announce himself, he entered the grounds and heard crying a short ways off. Following the noise, he found Hinata in the Hyuga Council Hall, clutching a photograph of her family, while Hanabi was still a baby. Hey Hinata, I heard from my boss something happened. He spoke to her, crouching down at her side. All he got in response was some sniffles and a few whining noises from the heiress. From his guess, she was too distraught to answer him. Ah, Naruto-san. Thank you for coming, spoke Hiyashi, who entered into the council chambers, an exhausted look on his face as he set himself down in the clan head's seat. He was searching for his elder daughter Hinata to personally guard her in case she was taken, but he also found Naruto as well. Two birds with one stone. Not a problem. My boss told me just minutes ago something happened here. The blonde spoke while placing a comforting hand on Hinata's shoulder. Indeed, Hanabi has gone missing. We believe that whatever is behind the previous events has struck again, much more aggressively. I have every member of the side branch searching for her. I want to ask the Hokage for more aid in the search and issue an alert, but the elders want me to keep things quiet until the last moment. I have to strongly disagree with them, explained the clan head with narrowed eyes. His fists clenched hard. I see your concerns. Were there any signs of violence from where Hanabi was taken? The blonde asked in a professional manner. None that we could find. From what we could put together, my daughter was brushing her teeth as evidenced by the toothbrush on the floor, then something or someone just whisked her away. There was another message as well. Whoever or whatever we're dealing with, they don't like the elders. In the message it claimed, the elders will not have her. The clan head explained with a frown. The pieces are clicking into place, Hiyashi-san. I think I already have a good idea on the source of all this. But I need to confirm it. If I may ask, what happened to your wife? The blonde asked while fingering his scythe. My wife. The clan head asked in surprise. Hinata took notice of this too as she sniffled and listened intently. Yes. The old heir, I mean the Hokage, told me about the Kumo incident. How the ambassador kidnapped Hinata-san. You killed the ambassador, which caused a big scandal, which led to the death of your brother. But when I once asked him about your wife, Hinata's mother, he said that he didn't know the details behind her disappearance. Care to shed some light on the subject? The blonde asked with a critical eye. Hitomi was my other half. We balanced each other out in more ways than one. She entrusted me with the care of our clan, I entrusted her with our children. This isn't easy for me to talk about, Naruto-san. I know nothing of being a father. So I trained my daughters to be strong, or tried to. Hinata has so much of her mother in her. That same kindness. Looking at her reminds me of my wife. Some days, I think she might come back. My head knows she won't, but my heart still yearns for her. Hiyashi rambled on, trying to avoid the blonde's question. Hinata sniffled a bit, realizing why her father was so hard on her. She was a constant reminder of her mother, and it would pain him to lose her like he lost his wife. To-sama, you wanted me and Hanabi to strong so we might be prepared against an unkind world. You can't be faulted for that. She spoke in a gentle voice. A small weight lifted off of the clan head's shoulders, a sense of reconciliation with his daughter taking place. With a small smile, the blonde got up from his seat and paced about the room for a spell. On the base of the walls in every corner were a set of seals. Growing curious, the blonde asked, Hiyashi-san. What are these seals? I can answer that. Those are privacy seals specifically made for the Hyuga Council chambers, meant to block out sound and even the Byakugan. I placed them there myself. Spoke a new voice behind them, revealing a certain Sanin. Jiraiya-san. This is unexpected. Spoke Hiyashi, putting on his poker face since he was somewhat irked by the Sanin barging in for no real reason. Jiraiya. As in the frog Sanin? Naruto asked, deliberately mixing up frogs and toads to irritate the Sanin. You shouldn't call my summons frogs. They take great offense at that. The Sanin spoke with a small frown, then flipped it into a smile as he continued to speak. Anyway, it's Naruto Uzumaki, right? I heard about how you're some big expert on ghosts and goblins. How about you drop the mumbo jumbo and come learn an A- ranked jutsu under my wing? It was personally developed by the Yondaime. The blonde was silent for a few moments, then spoke angrily, you know what? If nothing else, I'll take that jutsu so I can shove it up your. Anko-chan told me all about you. That you're a good-for-nothing pervert that rapes women. What? That's not true. I haven't raped anyone. The Sanin yelled out in his defense, surprised by the accusation. Oh no. You'd be surprised how often rapes go unreported. And wasn't it you who told Anko-chan that you'd seal off her curse mark if she slept with you? If that's not rape, then it's certainly blackmail. And I hate people who take advantage of a person in such a manner. Jiraiya of the Frogs. You are on my shit list. And you better stay as far away from both me and my female friends. Or I swear, I will personally castrate you, deep fry your genitals, and force feed them to you, make you puke it all up, then eat it again, shit it out, then eat it one more time. The blonde angrily threatened, all the while Hiashi was covering his daughter's ears to protect her from hearing such an ominous threat. But I run Konoha's spy network. And a famous and powerful shinobi amongst Konoha's ranks. If you attack me, then that'd be treason. The Sannin yelped as he turned green in the face from the threat. I don't give a flying if you were the Raikudo Sennin's bitch. Doesn't change the fact you have attempted to force yourself on someone close to me. Now get thee out of here, before I have half a mind to call my boss about you harassing me. Now why don't you do what you did before, and stay out of my life, drown yourself in booze and whore, and die in some backroom hotel where they don't change the sheets after the couples have a tumble. You worthless piece of shit godfather. The blonde ranted angrily, years of frustration boiling over, the breaking point being that his negligent godfather just randomly tried to insert himself into the Genin's life when it was convenient for him or had an agenda of his own. Wait, how did you know about? The Sannin asked in surprise at the boy's knowledge. My boss told me. Now get thee out of here before we really have a problem. The blonde warned, his patience nearly used up as the Sannin wisely chose to make a hasty retreat. Finally seeing the storm had passed, Hiashi released his daughter. My apologies, you had to see that. It was unbecoming of me. The blonde apologized since he allowed his temper to get the better of him. I understand. I heard rumors of Jiraiya attempting the blackmail Anko-san, but I wasn't sure about the legitimacy behind it. Spoke the clan head with narrowed eyes, his opinion of the Sannin hitting rock bottom. Without a word further, the blonde resumed his professional stance, then proceeded to knock on the walls using the old, shave and a haircut, trick. The clan head and heiress raised an eyebrow at what the genin was up to as he repeated the knock again. Then he knocked a third time, and he received a reply in the form of a slow knock replying in the 2 bits manner. The replying knock came from the back wall. Following the general direction of the noise, Naruto once again performed the shave and a haircut knock. Only to be replied once again by the slow reply of 2 bits. Hiashi-san. Hinata-san. I'm about to crack this case wide open. Naruto spoke as he began tearing the wall down with his bare hands. It was at this moment the Hyuga elders entered inside and saw what the Jinchuriki was doing. In a panic, one of them shouted for the to stop what he was doing. Ignoring their pleas, he tore off the remainder of the wall, revealing a skeletal body wrapped tied in plastic. Hinata wept as she realized it was the remains of her mother. Hiashi, however, had a look of shock. It then immediately changed to anger as he looked at the elders. Naruto-san, please take my daughter outside. She doesn't need to see what comes next. Spoke the clan head as several veins began to form and pulse, even without his Byakugan activated. With a nod, the Jinchuriki ushered the heiress out. They shut the doors behind them, leaving the elders alone with a furious Hiashi, who was now poised in the stance of the gentle fist. Meanwhile, with Raven, a temple? Asked purple-haired girl with a raised eyebrow, as she and Four stood inside a temple. There was nothing truly remarkable about it, to say the least. The Shinigami, however, chuckled in amusement as she approached a brick wall, and proceeded to tap on a few bricks in a certain pattern. Then the wall split in two, sliding open. It revealed an ethereal glowing portal. Not just a temple. Step inside. The Shinigami spoke while winking with her orange eye. Raven nodded as she followed the death goddess inside. There she was greeted by the sight of a huge library, walls filled with hundreds upon thousands of books. You are looking at the greatest collection of artifacts, magic, jutsu, art, and such other things. Four spoke in a tone filled with pride. As Raven looked about, she noticed that the library was in a circular shape, and that there was a railing in the center. On closer inspection, she peered over and saw the library was separated into numerous floors. Down and down they went, until she couldn't see the rest down a pitch black hole. I have everything listed and categorized. The farther down you go, the more dangerous the items. There are some things in here that could cause entire nations to vanish, that could blur the boundaries of life and death, and even rend and twist reality as we know it. This place has no official name, but I like to call it Sanctuary. The Shinigami explained as she ran a hand through her hair. And you keep everything underneath a temple? Raven asked in a skeptical manner with a hint of sarcasm. Who said we were under the temple? 4 asked while summoning a wine-filled glass from thin air. The empath raised an eyebrow for a few moments before a realization hit her. Of course. This is a pocket dimension you created. She spoke, gaining insight to how the place was hidden. Got it in one. Clever girl. It also helps that I can freely move the door to wherever I so choose. Only myself, and my bookkeeper Kessa-chan know how to find it. Soon you will too, as well as Naruto-kun. Feel free to explore. There are thousands of pieces here. It would take me at least 30 years to list off everything I have gathered so far. The Shinigami rambled a bit while sipping her wine. Interesting. But why collect all of these things? Raven asked out of curiosity. Hey, I collect the souls of the deceased as my job. Plus I give babies their first breaths of life when they are born. I am a natural-born collector of things. Besides, someone needs to keep all these goodies under lock and key, away from the hands of mortals. 4 explained in a half-joking and half-serious manner. She sipped her wine again, then snapped her fingers to summon forth a mirror. She then chuckled in amusement and spoke, I think you'll find this piece interesting. Raising an eyebrow, the half-demon walked forward and looked into the mirror for a few moments. Her eyes widened a bit as she cast a shocked expression at the Shinigami. Where did you get this? Oh, that. I found it in a pawn shop in Wave Country a year ago. Owner said it was a weird mirror he found. Claimed it was cursed and all that jazz. I checked it out, and found it was actually a gateway to someone's mind. I bought it and brought it here. I didn't realize it was yours until you appeared in my little Naruto-kun's lap. 4 explained in a tone of amusement. Raven, however, gulped dryly. If this mirror was here, then what else could possibly be kept in Sanctuary? Do you have anything that could kill a demon lord? She asked while looking up at the death goddess. I might. 4 replied, her eyes glowing in an ethereal manner. You might. You just said that you have weapons and artifacts that could bend reality. Surely you must have something in here that could end the life of my father. Raven asked almost desperately, her emotions slipping due to this discovery. 4 merely flicked the girl on the head, right on the jewel planted on her forehead. Waving a finger, the Shinigami spoke, now. I seldom let anything walk out of here for fear of whatever items might fall into the wrong hands. As I said, feel free to explore, but if you try and take anything, believe me, I will know about it. She spoke with a warning, then vanished out of existence. For a few moments Raven contemplated about stealing some ancient weapon, then using it to blast Trigon out of existence, but then, could she trust herself with a weapon of mass destruction? Could she truly keep it out of the wrong hands, or trust herself to put it away after she fulfilled its purpose? On another note, this would breach the covenant she made with Naruto. She entrusted him with her father's destruction. Trying to take matters in her own hands went against it. Still, the Shinigami mentioned that this was a library of magic and the like. Perhaps she could learn something new. With a small smile she took the mirror and located the living quarters at the top of Sanctuary. Now, it was time to hit the books and see if she could find anything of interest. Meanwhile, 4 was in her office, sealing away the Hanya mask that could summon her. Making sure that nothing could ever touch such an artifact ever again. The telephone on her desk began ringing. With a small smile she picked it up and answered, yes. What is it, Mary? The voice of Bloody Mary spoke for a few moments, alerting 4 of a new development. With a scowl the Shinigami thanked the mirror phantom for the news and hanged up. Harassing my precious Naruto-kun. Well now Jiraiya. I think a fitting punishment is due for a man who would take advantage of women. She spoke to herself after retrieving an apple-sized black pearl from her desk. A mischievous grin on her face. With Naruto. Naruto sat quietly, his former academy classmate sitting close by as she stared ahead into empty space. Her mind still processing the gruesome discovery of her mother's body in the walls. Her hands clenched tightly, the fingernails threatening to draw blood. Finally she relaxed slightly and spoke, "Naruto-kun, thank you for everything you have done. My memories of my mother are faint but, I remembered that everyone loved her. The side branch especially. Father once told me while she was pregnant with Hanabi-san, my father couldn't even get close to her, and she couldn't even get up from bed to make herself breakfast because the side branch members constantly surrounded her. I remember a little of that. It was funny seeing her protest. Now, maybe her spirit can be at peace." When she had finished speaking, she slid up closer to him. A blush on her cheeks as she spoke while obviously straining not to stutter, "I can't possibly thank you enough. Naruto-kun, if there's anything I can do for you, I'm all yours. I want to be with you." She was silenced by the blonde who pressed a finger to her lips. "I hate to break your little heart. But allow me to say, you're not my type. I'm not interested in meek little girls who need a crutch. But still, I'll give you a fair shake. If you can become a better kunoichi and a more mature person, I might consider going out with you. I have been aware of your crush for a while now. But I don't wanna have to hold your hand all the time." He spoke in a even tone. His words felt like a blow to her body. It hurt, but it also brought a sense of clarity. While he was at the academy, she didn't help him much if at all. She deserved to be rejected like this, but at the same time, he was offering her a chance. She could only nod, determined to become a better woman and kunoichi, if not for Naruto's sake, then for hers and her little sister's. "Hey, whatcha doing?" asked the voice of Hanabi behind them. When the two genin turned, they saw the sight of Hinata's younger sister holding a plate of cookies in one hand and a glass of milk in the other. Her face riddled with crumbs. "Hanabi, where have you been?" yelled Hinata while hugging her little sister. Her developing bust threatening to smother the younger girl. Finally she released the younger girl to let her soak. "I don't know. I was scared at first. It was dark and cold. And I couldn't find the way out even with my Byakugan. But then whatever took me gave me milk and cookies. Gingerbread. Then, it just let me go. And I found myself here again." The young girl explained, who was clearly as confused as they were. Gingerbread. That was mother's favorite. Gingerbread and cinnamon buns were her favorite. Spoke a bewildered Hinata, her wide eyes showing her shock. "Hey, I see. So the elders had their own agendas, and murdered your mother Hitomi for them. Keeping her body hidden inside the last place everyone expected. Then her spirit became distressed when you two were targeted by the elders. In order to throw off their plans, she kidnapped Hanabi-chan for her own protection. Hey, open and shut case here. Though, I still can't help but wonder why she hasn't yet revealed herself to me." The blonde mused while summarizing events. "Help me," screamed a female voice. When they looked in the direction of the scream, a white-haired female came bounding up to the blonde, her large bouncing as she ran. And, she was dressed in the exact same manner as Jiraiya was a short while ago. "Who the hell are you? You some hooker that ripped off the frog Sanin? You his twin sister? Or are you one of those impersonator types?" The blonde asked while scratching his cheek. "No, it's me, you idiot. Jiraiya the Toad Mountain Sage." She screamed out angrily while childishly stomping her feet. At this revelation, both Naruto and Hinata's eyes widened to the size of dinner plates. Regaining some of his composure, the blonde placed a hand on the white-haired woman's and gave it a squeeze. She let out a yelp and slapped his hand away, yelling, "What the hell do you think you're doing? I'm not into guys feeling me up, damn it." Naruto shrugged and casually answered, just making sure it was real and not a henge. "What the hell happened to you?" The Sanin sighed and answered, "Well, it went something like this. 1 hour ago. Damn brat. He has way too much of his mother in him. Growled Jiraiya as he drank some more sake to quell his frustration at the boy's attitude. Then he felt a slender hand that could only belong to a female. He slowly looked to his left and found one of the most gorgeous and exotic-looking women he had ever seen. Pale and creamy flesh, silvery hair that seemed to have gold dust in it, a pair of beautiful different-colored eyes, and she had a body that could match even Tsunade. "Buy me a drink," she asked in a sensual tone, her orange eyes winking at him. "But of course. What'll you be having?" he asked, already having perverted fantasies about this woman, and using her as materials for his books. I'm more of a wine person. But I don't mind a good scotch," she answered while resting her arms against the bar. The Sannin ordered a bottle of scotch for her and poured some of the liquid into a glass. "So what might your name be?" "I'm Jiraiya of the Sannin." He spoke trying to act smooth. "Look at you. Big bad shinobi." "I am number 4, she replied in a playful manner while sipping at her drink. "That's an unlucky number. Real unlucky. It's bad luck to call yourself that," he warned her with a small grimace. Though he wondered why she went by such a name. "Maybe I like to live dangerously. Maybe I don't believe, much less fear such a superstition. Does it matter?" she asked, her blue eye almost glowing in the light as she smiled and licked at the fangs jutting from her lips. "Oh, adventurous type I like that. Where you 4chan?" he asked while slowly snaking a hand towards her generous bust. Nowhere really. I travel around a lot. And I just love to collect all manner of things. Like this little bauble," she replied while revealing a apple-sized black pearl. "Oh, never seen one that big. Where'd you get that?" he asked out of genuine curiosity, his perversion put aside for the moment. I bought it from some flea market in a backwater town some time ago. This is no ordinary pearl though. Some centuries ago, a trickster plucked this pearl from the depths of the ocean and turned it into a tool for his pranks. This bauble can make anything and everything into its opposite. However, this tool had so much potential for chaos. It could turn a desert into a tundra, the weak into the strong, a benevolent ruler into a tyrant, old into young, and so on. Quite an interesting item actually. I sometimes use it for my own enjoyment," she explained as she rubbed the large pearl in her hands. "That's interesting, but I'm not the type that interested in fairy tales." He spoke in a bored tone, wanting to take this woman to a love hotel in her already. "Oh no, you should pay more attention to such things. Here, how about a demonstration?" she asked with a twisted smile. Then in a flash of light Jiraiya found himself into the form of a woman. The Sannin felt up the new female form and screamed out, "What the did you do to me?" In a panic the Sannin began performing a kai to release whatever genjutsu this was. "It isn't an illusion. This is your new reality. I know all about you Jiraiya. Your lack of respect for women. Your attempts to force yourself on them. Your lack of respect for a woman's privacy. And most recently a lack of respect for Naruto-kun's freedom. So I inflicted the most suitable punishment I could think of. Jiraiya of the Sannin, I hereby curse you to live out your days as a woman." To be honest, I thought about castration, but this would be much less bloody and much more amusing. "Have fun Jiraiya-chan. Enjoy the new body." She spoke, then with a snap of her fingers, she vanished out of existence. Leaving the changed Sannin to bolt out the door in search of Naruto, leaving behind a stunned group of bystanders. All across the elemental nations, women everywhere began to celebrate. Why? They didn't know for certain. But they felt that an enemy of women had just been destroyed, in more ways than one. End flashback. At the end of the story, Naruto burst out laughing. This was way better than what he had in mind for the Sannin. This was absolute poetic justice. Stop laughing at me, damn it. Now fix this. That weird lady mentioned you. I know you're involved. Jiraiya yelled angrily while stomping her foot like a child having a tantrum. Nope. I don't think so. I like you better like that. Such delicious irony. Spending your life making women miserable, and now you're a woman. Karma's a bitch, right? The blonde asked with a grin, not bothering to hide his amusement. Groaning, the Sanin decided that it would be a good idea to switch tactics. Please, tell that poor lady to fix this. I can pay you. I have money. She almost begged. No thanks. I can't be bought with money. I don't need it. My boss covers all my bills and expenses. The blonde replied in an uninterested tone, his pinky finger cleaning his ear. Jutsu. I can teach you jutsu. I know an original A rank made by the Yondaime Hokage. Pleaded the Sanin as she sank to her knees. No thanks. My boss promised me all the jutsu I'd need. And she doesn't make false promises. The blonde answered, once again turning Jiraiya down flat. Is this about Anko? You're still angry about her? I can help her, curse mark. I can help fix it. Honest. Just change me back and I'll fix it. I won't bother her ever again. The white-haired Sanin begged, hoping to appease the Jinchuriki. Not possible now. I already took care of that pesky mark. How? Well, that's a trade secret. The whiskered teen spoke while seemingly caressing his scythe. The eyes of the skull glowing a faint shade of blue. You? How? No, never mind. Your parents. I can tell you all about your parents. The Sanin yelled in a final attempt to regain her lost manhood. A faint growl escaped the blonde's lips. All throughout this exchange, the Hyuga sisters remained quiet, watching this unfold in silence. For a moment Naruto said nothing, but then he gave off a shark-like grin as he spoke. Now, if I were missing half my brain, and were around in an orange jumpsuit screaming, believe it, and how I was gonna be Hokage, that might have worked. Hell, the promise of Justu and ramen would have worked. But now, that's not gonna fly. Thing is, the only reason you approached me before was because you had an ulterior motive. Now you're being punished for your sins, and you're trying to weasel your way out so you can get your undersized back and start banging whores again. Guess what? You're gonna stay like that and I'm going to enjoy watching your misery. You have nothing I want, and I am not for any reason giving you back your junk. At the end of his rant, the now female Sanin looked on the verge of tears as she asked, is there absolutely anything I can say, do, or give you to convince you otherwise? Short of giving me back my childhood? No, you can't. Still, gotta say, you have a nice body. You'd do well turning tricks with inexperienced virgins looking to a mature woman. The blonde teased at the end with a devilish grin. I am not into men. I am a natural-born super pervert that loves women. Screamed the Sanin in denial. You say that now, but eventually you're gonna have that itch that needs scratching. And while there's nothing inherently wrong with being a pervert, if you truly loved women then you'd give them some respect. The only times I don't respect a woman is if I feel they don't deserve it. Like my teammate for one example. Or soon-to-be former teammate. Anyway, it's been fun, but frankly, you bore me now. See ya around. With that said, the blonde left towards the Hokage Tower, long since overdue to meet with his team there. All the while with Hinata and Hanabi, they both watched in mildly sadistic amusement. Elsewhere, in Kiri, Shizukesa hummed a small tune as she dug into the dirt and mud, a shovel in her hands as she pried the earth away. Standing next to her was the spirit of Rin Nohara, who was giddily bouncing on her feet. This is definitely it. I can sense my remains down there. Yelled the medic Nin with a S. Miller. If the bookkeeper heard her current company, she didn't shown it as she pulled away the remaining earth with her bare hands. There below the ground was the skeletal remains of Rin herself. Without hesitation, and having become numb to such things, she snapped off a finger bone. Having claimed what her subordinate asked for, she packed up her things and proceeded to leave the area. But was met by the sounds of pained moaning. Raising a curious eyebrow, she investigated and found a woman with auburn hair, lying in the mud. A large wound in her side. She was still conscious and trying to put pressure on the bleeding. Silently the girl walked up to the injured Kunoichi, her crimson eyes staring down at her. The woman turned her head to the side, gasping and wheezing. She swallowed dryly and spoke, please, help me. I was betrayed, didn't see it coming, bleeding won't stop, please help me, I can't let so many die at the hands of a mad Mizukage. With cold, unblinking eyes, the Shinigami's bookkeeper pulled out a small notebook. Skimming through the pages, she at last came upon the entry of Mei Terumi. Future Mizukage, devoted and borderline fanatically loyal supporter of the fallen Uzu, and future mate of Naruto. Snapping her booklet shut, she leaned down and picked the woman up in a bridal carry. Mei was surprised by the small girl's strength, but she couldn't protest due to her waning strength. Where are you taking me? She asked as her vision turned blurry. Shizukesa said nothing as she continued carrying this woman away. She would be useful for Naruto later on. Though in all honesty, she loathed sharing. If she had her way, Naruto would only belong to her. She would take care of him and his needs every day. While she was forced to share, that didn't mean she couldn't occasionally take advantage and show the various females their proper place. All the while Rin followed quietly behind the two, looking forward to soon working with Naruto. Back in Konoha, Naruto had entered the Hokage office where Team 7 was waiting. He offered a smile and spoke, "Sorry. Had some important business with the Hyugas. Plus a bit of personal business with someone who got there just desserts." This placated both Anko and Kakashi. Sakura and Sasuke weren't as understanding, but a glare from the snake mistress silenced them. "Ah, Naruto. Excellent. Now that you're here, I planned on issuing another C-rank mission to Team 7 after the success of the previous. Your mission is pretty straightforward. You're going to be bodyguards for a bridge builder," the Hokage announced with a small smile. Naruto wasn't paying much attention, though he did register the keywords, C-rank, and bodyguards, which was good enough for him. What truly caught his attention was the ghostly form of Makoto hovering over Sasuke. And by the look on her face, she looked angry. Very angry. Like she wanted her son to spontaneously combust just so she could later piss all over his ashes. "So this will be my protection. They don't seem like much," spoke the somewhat slurred voice of the client in question. Naruto rolled his eyes and appeared behind the bridge builder with a throwing dagger pressed against the client's throat. "Don't test me. I'll pass every time," the blonde spoke in an amused tone. Once again another civilian had underestimated him. And he wasn't taking shit. "ULP. My mistake. Sorry if I offended you, Genin-san." The client spoke nervously, wondering how the boy got behind him so quickly. With a smile, the blonde put away the dagger and replied, "It's fine. But you may wanna think twice about judging someone by their appearance. Especially when it comes to a shinobi. The name's Naruto Uzumaki. The scarecrow is Kakashi Hatake. The hot babe in the trench coat is my personal property, Anko Mitarashi. The pink-haired one is Sakura Haruno. And the emo with the stick up his is Sasuke Uchiha. Watch out for the last two, they're basket cases." "Who are you calling basket cases?" the two yelled angrily. Anko, however, was chuckling in amusement at how her apprentice introduced her. She certainly wasn't against being his property. Though she wondered about getting a doggy collar, or simply tattooing his name across her to prove his ownership. Right. I'm Tazuna. Kakashi was it. That Naruto kid always like this?" asked the bridge builder while sweating at the blonde's presence. The kid honestly scared the crap out of him now. Actually, this is probably one of his better moods. Normally he makes crass comments about your size when he wants to screw with your head. Anyway, Team 7, pack up some equipment for the trip. We'll be working this job for a while. And Naruto, please don't threaten the client again just to prove a point, and please bring that Raven girl from before too. It's not safe for her in Konoha. Kakashi spoke with an eye smile. Though his comment about the Jinchuriki's crass attitude made him sweat drop. Sure. Later bitches. The blonde replied while forming the peace sign with his fingers, then vanished in a puff of smoke. Unaware that the next chapter of his life was about to begin. "Hey Sasuke, I think I finally figured out what your problem is, your balls haven't dropped yet," Naruto declared rather loudly, deliberately trying to provoke Sasuke into a fight for his own amusement since it's been a long trek towards Wave. Kakashi groaned, eagerly awaiting the day a replacement was found for Naruto. Much as he liked the boy's talents and his antics were amusing, it was a tiresome chore to play as mediator between Naruto and Sasuke. Now Naruto, is it really necessary to torment Sasuke by questioning his masculinity? The copy nin asked with an eye smile. Necessary? No, it's not. But it sure is fun. The Jinchuriki answered as though it were the most simple thing in the world. Making Kakashi sigh while Anko was laughing her off. As they continued walking, Naruto glanced at a puddle on the roadside. His eyes narrowed slightly at the poor camouflage. Naruto Raven tried to warn him since she sensed two individuals with hostile intent, but was cut off by her master who spoke, I know. The puddle. Keep Tazuna-san safe. The empath nodded in understanding, impressed by how sharp he was. Glad she had chosen wisely in making a covenant with him. Out from the puddle emerged two figures, but before they could strike, Naruto vanished in a blurb of motion and kicked one of the figures away. The two were linked together by a type of chain, designed to ensnare then eviscerate their intended victims, which made both fly off and land into the ground. What do we have here? Bandits looking for a score? No. Two well-equipped and Chunin-level chakra signatures. Ninjas for us. Or the bridge builder? The Jinchuriki asked as he drew a pair of throwing knives. The demon brothers glared at this punk genin for interrupting them. If they failed, then Zabuza would have their heads. They leapt to their feet and disconnected the chain so they could move more efficiently. But they found themselves stuck in mid-air, unable to move their limbs. On closer inspection, they found that they were trapped in an intricate web of wires that now ensnared them. How did you set this up? Asked one of the brothers. Oh, the wires. Pretty shoddy work actually. Had to set it up in a rush when I saw your puddle. Next time, try a fallen log or something. Although, there might not be a next time if you fail to tell me who sent you and why. The blonde spoke as he holstered his knives. His fingers twitched slightly, which resulted in the wires tightening and digging into their flesh. Sweat poured down what was visible of their faces. But Gozu merely chuckled and spoke, You really think you can threaten us? You don't have the balls to carry them out. This earned a mere sigh from the blonde as his thumb twitched, causing a wire to slice off the head of Maizu, the other brother. Maizu, you bastard! You killed my brother! Yelled the remaining brother angrily as he struggled against the wires in vain. Sure I did. What if it's not like his death will weigh in my conscience. I gave you a chance to talk and possibly live, but then you tried to call my bluff. Thing is, I don't make idle threats or empty promises. But now I'm just being a chatterbox. The Jinchuriki rambled as he clenched his fist, which made the wires shred the brothers to pieces, leaving only the heads intact. Collecting the brothers' heads, he stored them away in a sealing scroll to later collect on their bounties. He didn't truly need the money since his boss covered all his expenses, but he could probably donate it to a good charity or save it for a rainy day if need be. What the hell is wrong with you, Baka? You murdered them, screeched Sakura in disgust, her face a dark shade of green from the gruesome display. Sasuke was slightly sickened as well, if only because the blood and gore reminded him of the Uchiha massacre. Raven stood idly by, understanding that this was to be expected of someone who served the Shinigami. Anko and Kakashi has more neutral expressions. They both knew Naruto was skilled, but the latter didn't know that Naruto could kill so casually. The whiskered teen merely replied to the pinkett, Sure I did. What of it? They were our enemies which also threatened our client. So I killed them. Plain and simple. Tazuna-san, there's something you wanna tell us? I suggest you be truthful. If my associate Raven senses so much as a hint of a lie, we're dropping the mission and leaving you here. The two Jonin nodded in agreement. Misinformation of mission details from a client was a pretty serious offense after all. The bridge builder sighed deeply and adjusted his glasses before beginning to explain, All right. I'll be straight with you. The truth of the matter is, There's a certain man who wants me dead. He is called Gato. Gato. Like the shipping company? Anko asked, recognizing the name. That's right. In Wave Country we don't have a shinobi village. Never needed one since we're an island nation. Our own natural defense became our weakness. Gato took control of our docks and ports, putting us in a stranglehold. If you control our docks, then you control everything. I am attempting to build a bridge to connect us to the mainland and break Gato's hold. However, without shinobi protection, I won't last a week. Tazuna explained in a somber tone, ashamed he had to lie in order to get help. I see. I understand everything now. Everyone, we're continuing the mission. Naruto proclaimed with a large grin. Don't decide something like that on your own. Sakura yelled in distress, not wishing to be put in an early grave because of Naruto's bold and brash attitude. The Jinchuriki waved off the fangirl and spoke with a large grin. We have 2 Jonin with us. Plus we have myself and Raven. I think we can handle it. At this the 2 Jonin looked at each other and gave a brief nod of agreement. All right then, we're continuing on, the Jonin announced with an eye smile, prompting them to continue the march to Wave Country. So far, the rest of the trip remained uneventful, aside from Naruto making fun of Sasuke's orientation or him having not gone through puberty yet. Much to the Uchiha's annoyance. My feet hurt. Can't we stop for a minute? Whined Sakura, once again proving what a burden she was for the team. We already did 5 minutes ago, commented Raven in a blank manner. This girl was supposed to be a kunoichi. How ludicrous. She's right, Sakura. We must continue on. The more time we waste out here, the more likely we are to encounter the enemy. Kakashi explained in a simple manner, having gotten used to the group's antics. Suddenly a quiet voice whispered, behind you. Upon hearing such a chilling voice, Kakashi felt some years of his life drain away. A cold sweat formed as he instinctively prepared a lightning blade to skewer the offender. When he turned, he saw it was that Shizuka's girl that hanged around Naruto. He was too late to stop his jutsu from piercing her chest. However, she grabbed his arm, causing a small crater to form under them as the jutsu dispelled. Then with minimal effort, she chucked the masked Jonin into the trees. Ah, Kessa-chan, you're back. The blonde spoke excitedly, scooping his manager up in a hug. In the background, Sasuke, Sakura, and Tazuna all wondered how a little girl snuck up on an elite Jonin like Kakashi. Speaking of which, the Jonin himself emerged from the trees, wondering what that feeling of dread he received was. For some reason, he recalled that Naruto mentioned the red-eyed girl had a scary voice. Was that what he meant? Or was there something deeper involved? Oi, Kessa-chan, did you bring me any souvenirs? The Jinchuriki asked in a giddy tone. With a nod, his manager pulled the desired finger bone token of Rin Nohara from her monk's cloak, which the whiskered teen pocketed with a deep nod of thanks. Then she pulled forward a large sack, with some movement inside. Oh, what's that? Is that a chupacabra? The blonde asked, hoping it truly was one. A chupafa now? Asked Tazuna in confusion. The name sounded familiar, but he wasn't an expert on such things. Naruto-kun claims to have seen a chupacabra in the Forest of Death in Konoha. Ha! Way to pull people's legs, Naruto-kun. Anko teased with a cheeky grin, poking at her apprentice's whisker marks. Oi, I know what I saw. The blonde quipped while crossing his arms. Shizuka let the opening of the sack loose to expose its contents. Inside was a certain Kiri Kunoichi. Holy shit, you brought me a gorgeous woman as a souvenir. Best manager ever. Naruto yelled while crying out anime tears. The souvenir? Sweat dropped at his antics slightly and then spoke, hello. Is this little girl your friend? The blonde smiled and spoke in a casual tone, yep. She's my manager. My name's Naruto. What's yours? The auburn-haired woman smiled and answered, I am Mei Terumi. How do I put this? Your friend kidnapped me, to be perfectly honest. Wait, she kidnapped a foreign kunoichi. This could cause some kind of diplomatic incident between villages. screeched Sakura while tugging at her hair in disbelief. Not wanting to lose her headband over something like this. Mei cringed at the shrill voice. Wondering how this girl even became a kunoichi. She cleared her throat and began to explain, actually, I don't think you need to worry. You see, I am of the rebel faction in Kiri. Our Mizukage went off the deep end and began butchering people bearing bloodlines, regardless if they were shinobi or not. I was betrayed and wounded in battle, then your little friend here kidnapped me. You have my apologies, Mei-chan. Kesa-chan tends to do whatever she wants. Kesa-chan, would you be so kind as to let her go? The blonde asked while rubbing his manager's head. Instead of releasing the poor kunoichi, she shook her head. What do you mean? No. If she doesn't want to be here, then we don't have the right to keep her prisoner. Naruto spoke with a small frown. In response, his manager kicked him hard on the leg, making him yelp and hop up and down on his uninjured leg. Shizukesa then shoved the kunoichi into the blonde's arms and walked off, disappearing from view. Wow, she's quick. Anko commented in surprise. She knew bits and pieces about the girl, but her boundless strength inside of the small body was still surprising. Naruto-kun, would you please release me? Mei asked, relieved that the silent girl had finally left. Maybe now she could finally get back to Kiri and help with the rebellion's efforts. Sure thing. Kesa-chan was acting a bit weird. Sorry about that. He apologized and pulled her from the sack. He then proceeded to untie her wrists and legs from her bonds. What the hell are you doing, Dobi? Sasuke asked with his trademark scowl. Can't you tell? I'm releasing this very nice lady so she can back wherever she came from. We have no reason to keep her prisoner. The blonde spoke as he continued to untie the Kiri kunoichi. However, the knots were quite intricate in nature, so he drew one of his throwing knives to cut her loose. Weren't you paying attention, Dobi? She said she was with the rebels in Kiri. It stands to reason she must have a bloodline. Sasuke noted with a deepening scowl. Oh my god. He has a brain. Sasuke actually has a functioning brain. And he finally noticed a woman. Naruto yelled out while feigning shock at the fact he made such an observation. Stop mocking me, loser. Last I checked, you don't have a clan. Yelled the Uchiha in rage, as he jumped on the blonde while trying to throttle him. Kakashi and Anko immediately stepped in to separate the two, and avoid them killing each other. The snake mistress sighed and spoke to her apprentice, Naruto-kun. You know I love you and everything, but could you please refrain from provoking Sasuke? As funny as it is to hear you make jokes about his, I don't wanna have to tell the civilian council that you ended up killing their precious Uchiha, regardless if it was self-defense. If you behave yourself the rest of the way, Anko-sama will provide special services. Now you're talking my language, Anko-chan. Or should I call you sensei during that time? He asked in a flirtatious manner. Depends on my mood. I like to dabble in the rough stuff. She quipped with a saucy grin. My Naruto-kun. You have some interesting friends. Mei spoke with a small twinkle in her eye. What can I say? I'm good at making friends. Especially of the female variety. Now you can call Naruto Uzumaki your friend too. He spoke with a large grin. A question mark appeared over him as the auburn-haired woman now had a dumbstruck look on her face. Did you say your name was Uzumaki? She asked in slow and breathless voice. Yeah, why? He asked with a raised eyebrow. Then, by sheer force of will, Mei ripped apart her bonds and bowed towards the blonde, her head planted hard against the ground as she yelled, Please take me as your disciple, Naruto-sama. Was the collective response of everyone excluding Mei. The auburn-haired woman lunged forward and grabbed Naruto's hand, pulling it into your cleavage. As a proud member of the Terumi clan, I hereby pledge myself to you, Naruto-sama. She proclaimed with tears leaking down her face, joy filling her at the fact she had found a real Uzumaki. How did she know he was for real? The animosity towards those of Senju or Uchiha descent. That was obvious from the jump. Another one. What is with you and women? Yelled Sakura, pointing an accusatory finger at the blonde. Dunno. Maybe it's the whisker marks. The Jinchuriki asked in an innocent tone. Reet. Anyway, Mei-san, if you're going to support us, or at the very least Naruto for our mission, I think it would be helpful to know what you can do. Kakashi spoke, trying to get past the absurdity of the situation and move on towards their goal. Mei ignored the Jonin and was eyeing Raven up and down instead, noting that her legs were completely able to be seen. What's this? Are you Naruto-sama's concubine? She asked out of curiosity, grinning at the probability of competition. Raven blushed furiously. Even with her years of training and temperance, there were some things that could throw her off. And being randomly asked if she was a concubine. That was a new one for her. She slipped her hood up and turned around and began chanting under her breath to calm herself. Oh, this is going to be fun. Cheered Mei with a hearty laugh. Oh great. Another weirdo. Whined Sakura as she hanged her head in dismay. Weirdest thing I see here is your washboard body. Naruto quipped, making the fangirl yell out in anger. Yep. This was all completely normal for these Konoha shinobi. Later. Sue, where are we going? Mei asked as she walked down the road with the Konoha shinobi, more particularly with Naruto. Anko had a possessive hand on her apprentice. Much as she appreciated some competition, she had known Naruto longer and wasn't about to let him go. Raven, however, chose to keep her distance. She couldn't risk losing control over her emotions, and a feeling of jealousy was already sprouting. You mean you followed us without even asking? Tazuna asked with a large sweat drop forming on his brow. I supposed I did. Oh well. Doesn't matter. I'll go anywhere Naruto-sama does. She replied in a simple tone of voice, showing that she didn't really care. TCH. What a cheat. That Naruto has no idea how good he has it with women. You'd think she'd focus on guys more her age. The bridge builder mumbled under his breath. Unknown to him, Mei heard bits of what he said, and it sounded like, what a cheat, that Naruto, no, good, with women, she'd focus on guys her age. A thick tick mark formed on her brow as she thought in horror, adultery. Clearing her throat, she gave a sickly sweet smile and spoke in a tone that was mixed with honey and venom, Client-san. Shut up or I'll kill you. At that the bridge builder flinched and screamed in his mind, what did I say? So far, the rest of the way to wave had been uneventful. And Naruto cut back on his mockery of Sasuke, and instead turned it on Sakura. I'm curious, Sakura. And I've been meaning to settle a bet with Kiba for a while. Let's say you succeed in hooking up with Sasuke, then what? You gonna pop out some little brats for him? I doubt you two would be very good parental figures. He asked in a teasing tone. Already picturing Sasuke not giving two shits about his kids. Elsewhere, in an alternate timeline, a certain spectacled Uchiha sneezed. Screw you Naruto baka, the Pinkett yelled in anger. Instead of teasing the fangirl further, he drew a throwing knife and tossed it into the bushes, a small thunk sound occurring. On inspection, it was revealed that a white rabbit had fainted from shock as the knife was just centimeters above its head, planted firmly into the tree. Naruto, look what you did. You could have killed that poor rabbit. Sakura yelled out and cradled the poor animal in her arms. Oi, isn't there something wrong with this picture? That's a snow bunny, so why is its fur white in the summer? Naruto asked in a rhetorical manner, already figuring out that this bunny was used for a substitution. The sound of steel cutting the air rang out. With a smirk, the blonde drew his scythe and deflected the incoming object, which was revealed to be some type of zanbeitu. With it successfully deflected, the blade's course was altered and sent flying into a tree, where it was firmly planted. Then, a man appeared, standing on the zanbeitu's handle. I know that guy. Hey, Zabuza. It's been a while, yelled Mei, who was quite cheerily waving at the now identified swordsman. Mei Terumi. Kinda far from Kiri, aren't you? Asked Zabuza out of curiosity, surprised to see the lava user not participating in the rebellion. It's a long story. But to sum it up, I was kidnapped and then found myself in the capable hands of Naruto-sama. She replied while pointing at the blonde who merely waved in a polite manner. This kid, well, he did manage to deflect my blade with that weird scythe. Interesting. I don't recall seeing you in the bingo book. You must still be a no-name genin. And who else do we have here? A pale chick, another one with pink hair. Some brat with a funny-looking haircut. Anko Mitarashi and Kakashi Hatake. No wonder the demon brothers failed. Spoke the swordsman, though he knew that he was biting off more than he could chew. Kakashi he could fight easily one-on-one. Anko involved. He might need Haku's help. But with Mei present, that was a total game changer. No way he could fight all three of them, even with Haku's help. Actually, my precious Naruto-kun took out your demon brothers. The snake mistress spoke with a large cheeky grin. The swordsman narrowed his eyes slightly at her statement. This kid, he brought the demon brothers down. Interesting. Seems we're at an impasse right now. I don't suppose you'll hand over the bridge builder all quietly, will you? The swordsman asked out of curiosity. The sooner this job was done the better. Especially if he didn't have to tango with three highly accomplished ninjas. Dunno. Are you gonna quit working for Gato? Naruto asked with a small smirk. He was just itching to fight someone like Zabuza for a while now. Can't do that, even if I wanted to. It seems that we aren't getting anywhere, and since I'm not feeling suicidal, I think I'll take my leave and try again later. The swordsman spoke. As he turned to leave, he was met with the face of that Naruto kid. Zabuza was both surprised as he was impressed at how a genin snuck up on him like that. Sorry Zabuza-san, but so long as you endanger the client, I'm not letting you go anywhere. Hey everyone, leave him to me, I can take him, the blonde yelled down with a large grin. Don't get brat, the swordsman yelled, drawing a kunai and thrusting it forward to stab the Jinchuriki. Naruto merely smirked and dispersed into a murder of crows, their eyes a dark crimson. They cawed angrily as they pecked and clawed at the swordsman mercilessly. Damn, some kind of weird substitution. A summoning maybe, Zabuza thought as he fended off the crows, but they refused to stop and some were already aiming for his eyes. A sharp whistle occurred, causing the crows to fly off in the direction of the noise. On the ground, overlooking the lake, was Naruto himself. The crows flocking around him, one of them perching on his outstretched arm. He petted the perched crow, using the back of his hand to stroke its belly. Then, with another caw, the crows dispersed into wisps of black smoke. The swordsman cringed slightly in pain. The wounds he sustained from the crows looked worse than they were, but it still hurt like hell. He ran through some hand signs and muttered under his breath, "Ninja art, hidden mist jutsu." A thick mist appeared, cut down the ability to see. Naruto, are you crazy? Get back here. You can't fight a Jonin, yelled Sakura from the depths of the mist. You're really weird, Sakura. First you hate me, then you're worried about me. Make up your mind. And don't worry, I'm not the type to take on a task beyond my capabilities. He spoke with a grin, then put his fingers to his lips and let out a short and sharp whistle. When he whistled, the sounds of barking and snarling took place, making Kakashi shiver. He knew those sounds. It was the ones those dogs made, the ones that Naruto summoned during the bell test. The black dogs howled incessantly as they hunted for their prey in the mists. Oi, Zabuza, I'm pretty impressed you can move so stealthily while carrying that big sword on your back. Naruto commented as he felt a presence behind him. You're not so bad yourself, sending those weird hounds after me to force me out of hiding. The swordsman spoke as he prepared to cleave the blonde in half. But then he was bisected right down the middle and the two halves fell to the ground with a wet splat, revealing it was only a water clone. Nice try, Zabuza, but water clones won't work on me. And don't even think about making a move on Tazuna-san. I have the whole area carefully surrounded by wires. The blonde announced, as the threads spread across the field. What the? How did you? Zabuza called out from the mist. Then he noticed spiders with a skull and crossbones pattern on their abdomens, creating a large and complicated network of wires and webbing around the place. Crows, then hounds, and now spiders. How many summons did this kid have? I can make a good web in a hurry, but when I need something bigger and more intricate, my little friends help me out. The blonde replied. Between the webs and his hounds, he had Zabuza boxed in. It was only a matter of time before he would be found. Knowing that he had been licked, Zabuza chuckled and called out, "You're a really good kid. I haven't had this much fun in a long time. I'll call it your victory this time, but next time, I'll be ready for you. For all of you." With that, the mist slowly dissipated as Zabuza safely retreated. With that done, Naruto disassembled the network of wires and webbing, allowing his friends and allies, and the two deplorable extras to move freely. Okay, I take back anything bad I might have said about you, kid. That was incredible. You bested a guy like that and barely even moved a finger. Tazuna spoke, clapping the whiskered teen on the shoulder in congratulations. Hey, told you I could take him. Anyway, he'll be back. He was pretty smart in making that tactical retreat. If he made the risk of moving on you, he would have been ensnared and eviscerated just like the demon brothers. Ah well, he'll be back. And he'll try even harder. I gotta say, I look forward to it. Naruto mused as he seemingly caressed his scythe. I'm curious. Why did you only use the scythe to deflect his blade? Why not use it on Zabuza himself? And, come to think of it, I don't think I've ever seen you use it. Kakashi asked while narrowing his visible eye. An eerie feeling had been coming off the scythe for a while now. Oh this. It was a gift from my boss. Anyways, the reason I don't use it is because that it has a particularly unique ability. Naruto answered with a smile. Before the Jonin could ask further, Enko decided it was time to get moving while they still had time. Elsewhere, Konan, a key member of the Akatsuki as well as the founding member, entered into a bar. Someone had recently contacted the Akatsuki for a job, and was paying an egregious amount of money as well. The amount was more than enough to make one of Kakazu's hearts explode inside of his chest. The odd thing was that this mystery client had asked for Konan, herself, by name. According to the letter that was sent, she was looking for a woman with silver hair that appears to have gold dust in it. And has two different colored eyes. One orange, the other blue. The brunette scanned the bar for the client, and spotted someone of such a description sitting in a corner booth at the back. Are you the client? For-san? Asked Konan in a professional tone. The silvery-haired woman smiled, which caused her fangs to become more pronounced as she gestured for the Akatsuki member to have a seat, to which Konan nodded. Yes. Thank you very much for coming. Can I offer you anything? No strings attached. This place serves a most excellent lobster bisque, if you can believe that. Or would you prefer a classic steak? The cook does a most excellent steak, very zesty. For offered with a kind smile. I'm not hungry. Just some wine will do. Replied Konan, grateful that this client was both a woman, and exceptionally courteous. The client clasped a hand over her generous bust and exclaimed, a woman after my own heart. I love a good glass of wine. She snapped her fingers, causing a waiter to hurry over to her. She then ordered a wine that Konan hadn't heard of, nor could she possibly pronounce the name. For turned back to the amber-eyed woman and asked, tell me, Konan-san. Do you believe in love at first sight? The Akatsuki member was somewhat surprised by the random question, and the only intelligent reply she could muster was, excuse me. For chuckled as she answered, my apologies. I'm a bit of a romantic at heart. And I love to occasionally play matchmaker. But please, indulge me. Do you believe in love at first sight? Konan bit at her lower lip for a moment before answering with a curt, no. Oh, too bad. But you might change your tune. The client spoke, her orange eye holding an ethereal glow to it as the waiter from before served a bottle of wine and poured the wine into their glasses before setting the bottle down and departing. The brunette cleared her throat and spoke, the job? She asked, trying to get to business as she sipped her wine. The flavor was quite mellow but satisfying. Ah, yes. Of course. There's a certain someone I want you to find for me. The client spoke as both of her eyes began to glow. Who? Conan asked with a raised eyebrow, wondering who this woman wanted to be found. Naruto Uzumaki. 4 replied with an eerie smile.